My name is Joseph Hurst. I live in Ankeny, Iowa, and I'm a part of the PMBA program. I currently work as the Director of Sales at Stony Creek Hotels in Johnston, Iowa, and I chose the Iowa State MBA program because it just made perfect sense. About 2 years ago, I started this wonderful program, and I couldn't imagine not having done it. What has helped the most balance work, life, school, has been the people I'm in class with. It's great to go through questions, problems, study for tests, and it just makes the whole class so much easier. As a working professional thinking about doing an MBA program, I get night classes aren't everybody's dream. I get after a long day of work, you may not want to go do more, but it's worth it. You're going to learn a lot, not just from the professors in the program, but from the other students. They come from all walks of life. They are from different age groups. They're from different companies. They're from all kinds of different backgrounds. They've got all kinds of different stories. And after 2 years, I've made some of the best friends I've ever made, learned the most I've ever learned, and I can't imagine what we're going to do after we're done.
Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. Terraplex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag drone technology and support from Terraplex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with Terraplex Ag. Visit TerraplexAg.com.
Chris Williams, Brent Blum, from the Wild Rose Casino Studio. It's Williams and Blum, presented by Mechdyne, on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
Little English, little homecoming. Is homecoming still a big deal? Like when does it? Like when you're in high school, it's a huge deal. I felt like if you're in like a fraternity or sorority, it was a really big deal. It never felt like a big deal to me, but then we have friends, like some of our really close friends that will come back every year for homecoming.
Yeah, I've never been a homecoming guy, but I get it. If I lived out of state.
Because we weren't cool.
No, we were not doing floats or was it Yell Like Hell?
We didn't do any.
I didn't.
You made a joke on Twitter last night, and it was so true. Unfortunately, our friends at the old Chicago and Ames, God rest its soul, are shutting down. And
R.I.P.
Bloom and I were doing the beer tour before the beer tour was like cool, like because we didn't have any friends. We would just sit there and debate like the merits of the Big East being in the BCS.
That's right. That's right. We were doing this show long before we were doing the show, and it was us a Red Stripe beer, and that bartender's like, just leave, losers.
Oh.
Who's laughing now, Old Chicago?
Yeah.
I'm joking. No, I appreciate Old Chicago. I'm going to miss you guys.
God love you.
Somebody mentioned that we need to open a bar either in the same spot or perhaps in Sidetown and call it New Chicago.
It's, Contemporary Chicago. There you go.
Contemporary Chicago. So,
welcome to the show. We are presented as always by our friends at Mechdyne, the Mechdyne Corporation. Check them out. Their name is spelled MECHDYNE.com. Great supporters of Cyclone Fanatic. Great supporters of the We Will Collective as well. They are great Cyclones would like to hire great Cyclones. Check them out at their job board. I also, a little shameless plug here, but I promise you, if you guys would see the books on these, it really doesn't help me much at all. I have this, all he does is catch touchdowns, Jaden Higgins t-shirt.
I love that.
We don't make a lot of money on these because the student athletes do the best on these, and that's by design. And I'll be honest, this shirt hasn't sold as many as I thought it would. Because it's a badass shirt, and Jaden Higgins, in my opinion, is the best receiver we've ever seen at Iowa State. I think after this year, it'll be clear. I believe that there are definitely arguments to be made, but it's just my opinion. I'd love to see some more of these shirts.
Well, and the cool part is
go out.
Those that have the Brock Purdy shirts from 3 years ago and Will McDonald shirt, like it's a collector's item now, and these guys go dominate the NFL.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Go get you. And by the way, Jaden, just an amazing,
great dude,
young guy.
Your wife is trolling me in the comments. She says, printed on something other than black. Here's the problem. We let the players design the shirts, and they all want it on black because they're cool, unlike people like you, Crystal. Kidding. Everybody, all the players, they just want black. I'm like, hey, maybe we should try a white option. No, I want black.
Well, all these people are into their colors now. I don't know what that means.
And I refuse. We will never print a gold shirt in the Cyclone Fanatic shop. It will never be for sale again.
What if there's a gold out?
Well, you have to twist my arm. I ain't wearing it. I'll wear any color other than gold. We should do away with it from the school colors. Just completely wipe Iowa State clean of the gold. It's heinous.
Imagine what the
old gold was
great. The old timers would really love that, C-Dub.
The old gold, you know that it's kind of like a rustic gold from the old school days. I like that.
You don't
but
like
now
yellow?
We're in this like bright ass, and I think of it. It's not his fault. It's like the Paul Rhodes mustard McDonald's game.
Yeah,
that's what I think of with the gold, and I hate it.
That didn't do a lot of favors for the gold.
But it doesn't bother me on a basketball uniform as much, if that makes sense.
Again, I have anytime I hear the gold uniforms, I think of that Toledo game.
Yes. That got us Matt Campbell.
They won that game, so this has been 20.
Well, yeah. Matt Campbell walked around
yes. It was gold on gold, and E.J. Bibbs got his gold jersey ripped that game. That's 10 years ago now, but yeah, E.J. Bibbs, good player.
Anyways, go out and buy these NIL shirts. It does make a difference more than you guys think. Just it's less about money and more about showing love. I would say when these guys do a shirt and 13 people buy it, it's kind of like, When we did the Dominic Orange one, we had 100 orders in 48 hours, and it made a big difference.
Dom loved that.
Yeah, it was a big deal to him. He thought it was really cool, and just wanting to show love more than anything. This is, again, that we're not lining our pocketbooks by this, I can promise you. But anyways, that is not why we are here today. I just want to give Jaden some love because I think he's going to have a huge game against Texas Tech. There's a lot to talk about with this game. Iowa State coming off of a bye. Texas Tech's quarterback situation. Texas Tech also has key injuries in other areas, specifically in the secondary, which their secondary is bad to begin with. And correct me if I'm wrong, don't they have some guys in the offensive line that are a little bit dinged up?
They got really banged up last week. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm just going to put my cards on the table here, and I've been a pretty conservative picker against the spread for Iowa State this year. I really like the Cyclones this weekend coming off of the bye. Let's see what the weather holds. We don't know who will be the quarterback. This has really gotten fuzzy since our podcast on Sunday night.
It has.
How much of that is gamesmanship? How much of it is real? We don't really know. But just with Tech's injury situation, Iowa State coming off a bye, the matchup itself.
Plus the mental state for the Red Raiders right now after two just colossally bad losses in back-to-back weeks. And now you got to go to Ames.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have commenters that are saying Barron Morton was confirmed to play. I understand that. I read that too. Coaches lie all the time about injuries. They have no reason to be truthful. There is no real injury report in the Big 12. They can lie about this as gamesmanship, and Joey McGuire might be doing that. He may not. I promise you, the one thing, Iowa State will be prepared for both.
No doubt. And so what the quote was, Barron Morton structurally sound, meaning he didn't break his collarbone, which I think you couldn't lie about that if he did in fact break his collarbone.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's lying about the injury itself,
right.
But I don't know if he's
availability.
Going to play.
Either way, you get hit hard enough that your arm's in a sling on the sideline on a Saturday. The next week you're not going to be, 100% full go. I mean, outside of some painkillers, I guess. But we'll see. I mean, Iowa State will prepare for both. I think Hammond and Morton both, they do similar things in that they both can run it and throw it. They're both very dynamic. These two guys are super talented. It's just Morton's just had more experience of playing in big games, playing on the road, all of the above. And so obviously if I'm Texas Tech, I'd rather have Morton than Hammond, but Hammond's very capable. We talked about it Sunday, and Iowa State's going to be ready to go for both. I think the more the question in Iowa State is less about who the quarterback is for Tech and, what's the health situation for Iowa State's linebackers. Because, again, I keep coming back to it. If Tech can run the ball at Taj Brooks, the quarterback is less of an issue for them, and I think that's where they're really going to lean on early. And Brooks and that offensive line has been very good this year. I mean, he's averaging, 125 yards per game. He's a really sturdy running back and can tote it a lot. I think if Tech wants to stay in this game, in their mind, with their injuries in the secondary, they got to control the ball, and that's not something they normally do. So I think it'll be an interesting test for them. How aggressive do they want to get, no matter what the quarterback is? Weather could be an interesting factor. We'll see. I think their best bet is just hammer out Brooks for 30 carries. I would try and get to the fourth quarter.
Chief meteorologist Aiden Wyatt and give us a updated weather forecast. Can you do that, son?
Yeah, give me a minute.
Yeah, look one up, the old weather.com or whatever we got. I don't know if Amber Alexander's put out her game day one for Iowa Everywhere yet, but we can wait and see. It does look like it's going to be less rain than we thought. I don't anticipate it being 100% dry. I don't know if this really impacts the game that much. In fact, I don't know. It would be kind of a net zero to me.
I agree. I just think the uncertainty would maybe lend itself to, hey, let's just be conservative and run the ball.
Man, doesn't it feel like, I mean, I understand. Mauser, he'll never admit it. He's as air raid as it gets while knowing you have to run to be able to do what that program wants to do. But I feel like he'll test the hell out of that secondary early. Don't you think?
He had some really interesting quotes yesterday of, so Mauser's great. Mauser's like, I screwed up. I screwed up in the UCF game.
Like, I love Mauser. Yeah. He's my favorite quote really since a young Tom Herman was a great quote.
True.
Right? Tom Herman would just go out there and say anything. And Mauser reminds me of that because they're both so smart, right? Like where they're thinking at a different level. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving Mouse too much credit.
No, I
I just right. Like who's a better quote than Mauser in the last 5 years? We don't have one for sure.
That's a great point. It's honestly, if I'm going to a quote now at Iowa State, it's Bill.
I'm going
Fenley.
To Mauser.
It's Bill Fenley and Mauser
because Finley doesn't give a shit. He'll say and Pollard. Pollard's the same
Pollard's
way.
Right there too. Yeah.
Like those guys are old enough. We're just like, I don't care.
But Mouse for a young guy, he should get more attention. I mean, if you think about the question marks entering this season, a lot of it was the offensive play caller, and he's been great. But I give him credit. He's like, last game I was not good. He's like, I was not good last game. And then even in those post-game videos, he's telling his guys, hey, I screwed up. I'll call better plays. I think that it's that humility that's just it's a breath of fresh air. And Mouse, please keep that. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Iowa State knows with Knoll and Higgins, and it sounds like both are healthy, which is great. Bramer's more questionable.
They say Bramer's questionable. We'll see. But again, you're not going to lie about the injury itself. And Matt Campbell saying it's not a structural thing, and then the MRI. That I don't think he's lying about that. I'm saying that these coaches don't have a reason to tell you what's really going on.
Not yet.
They'll give you half truths. So I would call Bramer questionable to doubtful based on how I read that, but I don't know anything. They don't tell us anything.
Correct. Interestingly, your mark yesterday, did you see this, C-Dub?
No.
Is considering mandating injury reports as soon as next season.
Good. We're well past that, but good. I'm glad.
So I think everyone's starting
it's ridiculous.
To get there. We are getting more, and I say this this is a positive thing, professional in that
absolutely
information is good to keep people engaged.
Just being transparent is always a positive.
Is always a good thing.
Yeah.
And right now you don't. Right now it is an advantage, though. It is. Like
Kyle Whittingham.
Example.
Yeah. No. I don't blame. I want to be clear. I don't blame the coaches for doing it the way that they do it. If I was a coach, I would do the same thing.
Same thing. Yep.
But I also think you can be so deliberate about it that it turns on you and the fans because they're invested in these programs greatly. They get pissed. If you've followed the Utah thing, like Kyle Whittingham is, a legend over there, and people hate him right now.
They're turning on. That's a great
how they
point.
dealt with the Cam Rising thing. They're like, well, what are we paying all this guy all this money for? He never plays. And you're just lying to us about his injuries all the time. Don't we have some stake in this? Yeah. And then they go after the kid.
They go after the kid. Now, that's interesting. Yeah, so all this stuff, as money gets more involved on the player comp side, there is going to be a side of, okay, the fans deserve more information, injuries included, and I think everyone's realizing that. You're going to see a big shift as soon as next year in that space. But for now, I agree with you, C-Dub. I think I would say the quarterback situation for Tech is it sounds to me more encouraging for Morton than it would be for Bramer to play. What I'm looking at is the health of the linebacking situation. It sounds like Brazina is healthier now, which is great.
He should be good.
He should be good to go. I'm trying to think,
I have
still
Matt
no
Campbell
Bacon,
quotes.
still no McLaughlin, but yeah, go ahead.
Matt Campbell quotes from yesterday. Not Carson Willich. He's in the report.
Yeah.
Connor Ferguson wrote this for us. It's on the front page. It's Cyclone Fanatic right now. If you want a detailed analysis on all these. Campbell says on Caleb Bacon, Caleb is trending in a positive way. I think there's hope. We could get to December. A guy like Caleb can get himself back on the football field. I think Carson Willich is in the same boat, probably more of a December or January timeline. And then he says on Will McLaughlin, I think the guy of the group closest to returning is Will. I think Will is a guy, hopefully sometime in this block here, we will get him a chance to be back on the football field. So there you go.
Just thinking about that.
So that says nothing, but
yeah,
you guys are asking me about it. That's what I know. I know what the coach is telling us.
It says none of those are going to play.
They're not playing Saturday or against
Probably not
Kansas
either.
Yeah.
And that's the story of this year is if you would have told if we would have talked about this in August and say, hey, you're not going to have McLaughlin, Bacon, or Willich, and your starting linebackers are going to be freshman Ebel, freshman Brazina, sometimes Jacob Ellis, and somebody named Rylan Barnes, we would have been like, oh no.
Rylan Barnes.
Dear goodness. But look, 7-0.
Shout out to Barnes Farms.
Barnes Farms.
Over in Crystal Lake.
So, yeah, I think it sounds like Kale's going to be okay. Good to go. Goodwin's good. So, those linebackers, big game for them. And that D-line.
Think that there's a difference here, too. I like this matchup better than I liked the Central Florida one. One, we didn't know anything about how they were going to do that. And you also saw the BYU scouting that kid for a full game changed a lot. Okay, this is not an excuse for Iowa State, but tape matters, especially when you're talking to just a legit freaking athlete like Brown was.
Well, look what Iowa State did in the second half to that guy. That's
correct.
Exactly. They figured it out.
But the other point I would make is that this Texas Tech deal, whoever they play at quarterback, and probably specifically Hammond, the backup, is probably the better runner.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
yes.
It's not Gus Malzahn went into that game thinking we're going to run 80% of the time, and these are designed runs to confuse the defense. I don't think Tech has that in them. That's not a Joey McGuire thing, if you know anything about his background. And I would guess it's going to be more like what West Virginia was trying to do, right, where it's not as designed, if that makes sense. You don't have the blocking schemes. It's more, I think that if Hammond gets to Iowa State, it will be broken plays. And whatever Brooks does to you, I think, and this isn't a disrespect to him because he's really good, but I think you almost, we're going to play our base and think that we can stop your running back. It's these damn mobile quarterbacks that in the design runs that scare me the most with this defense. Because, again, I'll put my paycheck on it. I'll put Iowa State secondary up against any quarterback in this league over the course of 4 quarters.
Yep, give me some third downs and prevent the big play. And here's the other thing in Iowa State's favor defensively against Texas Tech. This is one of the most penalized teams in the nation, most penalized team in the Big 12, and so it fits right into the Anaconda defense of you can't go 12 plays without screwing up. And I think that's Iowa State's advantage. I agree, C-Dub. I think you play pretty base, you prevent the big play, and if Tech can string together 12 to 15 play drives, Congratulations.
And I think they will a few times.
I think that this reminds me, honestly, Steve, of a lot of the Baylor game.
Great point.
A lot of the Baylor game entering it. And Baylor has turned out to be a really good offense, by the way. And they have changed completely since Robertson took over there. They had dudes. They always had dudes. They finally figured out a way to balance that. Iowa State got beat by Robertson for most of the first half. Then figured it out, got some stops, got enough stops, and then offensively, Iowa State was really good that game. Depending on the weather, and we're getting to Aiden here momentarily, I think this game shapes up a lot like that Baylor game. My question is, does Tech try and run it more than Baylor tried to? Because Baylor really couldn't do much on the ground at all.
We will get to Chief Meteorologist Aiden Wyatt here in just a couple of minutes. Before we do so, thank our friends over at Game Day Men's Health in Ankeny. I missed my old tee shot yesterday, so I'm going to Clive today. I'm going to check out the location in West Des Moines. That'll be great. Also over in North Liberty, my friends over in Eastern Iowa that's the ownership group that we are partnered with. Thanks to my guy, Bill Morris. They've made me as healthy as I have been in 10 years. I am not exaggerating. Recently did my blood work, Brent, and through the roof improvement compared to where I was last April. So I have a lot of gratitude towards my friends at Game Day Men's Health. The other thing that I like about it, just between you and me, it's like there's a little bit of like when you're spending money on this and you're investing into yourself, then you want to work out more. It just gives you the extra motivation to do it, and it's a good stimulus, I think, to push you into being a healthier human.
Love it.
We also forgot, I didn't forget, I had it down. We didn't give our guy Chappie any love on Sunday night's podcast. We were all fired up after the bye week.
Sorry, Chappie.
Sorry, Chappie. That's on us. He didn't reach out or anything. He's great. He knows we're going to take good care of him, but that was on me. I'll fall on the sword. Give my guy Andrew Chaplin a call, Blum's guy Andrew Chaplin a call, if you have any real estate needs in the Ames area specifically, but he can serve the entire state of Iowa as well.
And look at that beard if you're watching on YouTube.
Iconic beard.
Man, it is a really good beard.
And you're a good man, a good person, if you bring your friends framed pictures of Brooke Burke from the Welch Avenue Station bathroom. Only a true stud of a human being would give that sort of a gift. Aiden Wyatt, he is our chief meteorologist on Cyclone Fanatic. What does the forecast look like for Saturday, my friend?
This is the afternoon. It's going to be about 59 degrees with the real feel of 55. Let's see. 61% chance of precipitation.
Well, that's dropped.
That is dropped.
Bloom was all doom and gloom on Sunday.
I mean, it hasn't dropped a lot. It has dropped. Humidity
It was like
charts.
90% on Sunday. It's by like a third. What the hell do you want?
Saturday night, it's a 72% chance of rain. But
yeah, so when is that front moving in? I took Meteorology 106 with Dr. Peters at Iowa State.
I did too. That was a great class.
When is that front moving in and that wind will shift? We do have a little more wind, though. We got a little. Well, that's not terrible.
It's McCarney and Leach, man. It's got to be windy.
Got some clouds. It's gonna be cloudy. It's gonna be a nice tailgate. I got no problems with that.
Yeah, the UV is super low, so tarps off, everyone.
We're not gonna have any
tarps off.
We're not gonna have any lightning, are we?
No, I think this is just nuisance showers. Nuisance.
Okay. I also wanted to mention we are live today. We're going to try and be live the rest of the year here on Wednesdays at 9. We might have a hiccup next week because I have to do some traveling in the middle of the week next week.
You can't say we're going to be live for the rest of the year. It didn't say, but
well, I'm going to try and be live next week. I'm just telling you. Or somebody's going to have to sit in for Williams next week, which is a possibility as well. Maybe it can be Woody and Bloom next week.
There you go. Then I have to talk even less.
Well, you know what I'm doing? I'm excited about this. I'm going to Charlotte.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm going to do some dirt track racing, announcing at the World Finals for the World of Outlaws, which is a really big deal for me. I don't expect it to be a big deal for most of you, but I grew up. That's what I wanted to do, was to be in racing, and I had a few opportunities presented to me. But don't worry, I'm going to be flying from Charlotte to Kansas City on Friday.
You are going to go?
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be in Kansas City. I'm not missing an Iowa State game. Are you kidding me? Like, there's no chance I would miss an Iowa State game for this. But, yeah, I'm excited for that. It'll be a fun. You know my geekiness.
Yeah, you are. You can tell. You're amped up.
Oh, I'm just gonna be a motorhead.
You're all teed up about this.
Well, the thing is, though, it's like it sounded great when it was presented to me 2 months ago,
and then you're like, oh, I gotta.
And now Iowa State's 7-0,
right.
And it's just like, oh. And I hadn't committed to it until recently, and it was like, oh my god, like, but I got to do it, and I won't miss anything when it comes to this stuff. But
hey, Aiden, can you pull up Ticketmaster and/or StubHub for the Kansas game?
Yeah.
I want to see how those are doing.
I need your analysis. People are starting to feel the heat.
They're feeling the heat a little bit. I'm still saying hold the line. That thing got 6-day windowed, meaning we don't know the game time yet. Now, the politics behind the scenes, the Chiefs have requested, whatever the Chiefs can, that game be played at 11 or 2:30. The TV networks can tell the Chiefs to go fly a kite. We'll see.
There's no way that's a night game.
I don't think it is either, but we'll see.
Could you imagine that turnaround?
Oh, we got all sorts. What's the lowest price? This is Ticketmaster. What we got here? We got $75 tickets in the uppers.
I'm still not buying.
I'm not buying.
I'm waiting
yet.
until game day to buy.
Look at all that. I mean, they're not. You guys, this is supply and demand. Like
This is economics. Name your economics professor at Iowa State in honor of homecoming.
I know it was at Carver. I don't remember the name of the professor, but I took it at Carver.
That's an Ivy College of Business course, right?
No, economics is actually in liberal arts and sciences.
No kidding.
Interestingly,
I'll be damned.
Yeah, how about that? StubHub. What do we got on StubHub?
Don't buy these tickets. Just
look
wait.
Up StubHub for me.
I mean, you all can do what you want. Some people are like, I need to have them now, and it makes you feel comfortable. I understand that. My wife and her family are going as fans. Of course, I'll be in the press box. But I told my wife, just wait and buy them the day of the game. Like, they have to be cheaper. Yep. That place is not going to sell out. People will panic.
However, I'll give you this little insight for people who are more, because I think the tickets, is one thing. The whole tailgating situation is another for people. Hey, what do I bring? What do I not bring? I got a way you can not only settle that decision, but also help out keep these Cyclones rolling. We've got about 30 tickets left for our pregame VIP passes. So we have about.
I'll be there.
Yeah, you'll be there.
You have us slotted in, right?
Yep, you're in.
Okay,
you're in.
Yeah.
We have.
Do you want me to speak and fire up the crowd?
You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. We have basically 100 or so Cyclones in the same area, right outside the stadium. Complimentary beer, seltzers, wine, food, cookies, TVs, indoor climate controlled, and we're selling tickets for $250 a piece. And so again, most of that helps out the WeWo Collective. And again, we got 30 left. I think 30 left. Go to our website wewocollective.com, and you can kill a couple birds with one stone there.
No, that's good. I would do that.
And
so
if
you don't have to worry about packing all that stuff and take. Oh,
and
God.
Honestly, most people that I know could probably. $250 is a lot. I realize that, but that's free beer, wine, seltzers, and food. Like, you're going to be pushing that anyway.
It's a tax write-off,
and it's a tax rate.
I mean, you're going to Kansas City for the weekend. You got to spend money anyway.
Spend money anyway. Might as well help out the collective, right?
Yeah, you may as well do it with people you like, and that's how I look at it.
And Bobblehead Brent will be there too, potentially.
Oh, man. Well, now you have to go.
What do we got for lowest price here, Aiden? I can't read. Can we zoom in?
Chief meteorologist and ticket scalper extraordinaire, Aiden Wyatt.
I'm seeing $49 for the cheapest.
Oh, they're already dropping.
Yeah,
they're dropping, guys.
Yeah, they're dropping.
I hope you guys didn't buy. Should have listened to me and Bloom. They're gouging us. They're gouging Cyclone Nation because they know you guys are going to scoop them all up.
Somebody's got to pay Hunter Dickinson. It's $2 million.
Did you see, by the way, and then we're going to get to the Big 12, our Wiffle Hybrids Big 12 segment. We are also going to preview women's basketball today. They have their exhibition opener tonight. That's all coming up here on the rest of Williams and Blum. Did you see on Two Guys on Monday, Hassel and I did our ratings of the games the rest of the way, like most difficult?
Yes.
Hassel surprised me. We didn't talk about these beforehand, and I respect it, how bold it was. He put Kansas as his scariest game for Iowa State going forward. The way they're playing, I had it third behind Utah. I had Kansas State 1. I just don't like the Kansas State matchup. That's my problem. It's not that I'm scared of Kansas. That's a bad matchup for Iowa State's defense right now. If Iowa State can get some guys back, I think it changes a little bit. Right now, I wouldn't want to play Kansas State. The Utah thing is more of a respect to the traveling West and just Whittingham. And I know they're not playing well. Like I get all that. I've watched all the games.
That'll be rugged either way, though. Like you're gonna have to grind it.
It's gonna be an ugly ass.
Yeah.
And then I had Kansas third, but I also think that I could put all of these games. I think Kansas State is a clear number one in my mind. I think I could put the rest of them in a hat, and because I think if Central Florida can give Iowa State a scare at home, there's no reason Tech and Cincinnati can't.
You are 100%
right?
correct. And any Cyclone fan thinking otherwise is hey.
No, yeah. The only reason I'm confident this week, and this could be scary, is because of the bye situation for Iowa State, and I'm looking at Tech's injuries, and I think they could be running close to E right now with where they're at in just the program trajectory on the year. But I still have respect for the talent level. I mean, if you remember in the offseason, Tech was one of those teams that I kind of thought was a dark horse to get into the Big 12 championship
up until
game.
2 weeks ago, they were right there with everybody else. And they lost 2 bad ones. This is a game similar to Baylor and UCF. The start is critical. If you put them away, and Iowa State did not do that to either Baylor or UCF, and then each of those, now the Baylor game got away at the end, but this game, if you're up 14-0 after the first quarter, then, Tech might think, hey, let's go back home to Lubbock. If not, these guys got skill now, and between their pass catchers, their secondary, it's weird. Because if you look at the individual talent of these guys, it's really good. Like I think, one of their back end guys is one of the more talented guys in the conference. Several picks this year. I'm drawing a blank on his name. It's just they have bust after bust, and so it's not an athleticism problem for them. It's not like they don't have the people. It's just they've been breaking down multiple times, and that has really skewed the yardage for them. So. But they were really good. Look at that Arizona game. They went into Tucson and won. Now, a lot of people have done that as well. Yeah, it's when I'm looking at the rest of these games, what scares me the most is the skill on offense. And I would say it's K-State 1 and then Kansas 2. Like I think Kansas skill guys are really good. Mm-hmm. And even though that's going to be a de facto home game for Iowa State, that just Jalen Daniels want to go down quietly. I don't know. I mean, that guy was really good last week. And
I thought they would. I thought they were folding, and he's clearly still playing.
Yeah,
like
he's
they're
playing
for Leipold.
So do they play Saturday?
Well, let's get to it. Do you want to do our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment?
Let's do that. Let's
do it right now. Plant your independence. Plant Wiffles. Hey, we got a goodie bag coming. Did you know that? Trista texted me yesterday. We got a goodie bag coming. I'll make sure and get it to you. I told her I wouldn't hoard things.
How are the
yields? Said just send it to me. I feel like the yields are great this
year. Yields are
good. Huge yield guy. Man, I hope most farmers are out of the fields that I know, but a lot of the big enterprises are still finishing up this week. I hope they can get it in before this rain comes in. Aiden, how's Wyatt Farms Enterprises doing over?
That's over Wyatt and Sons Farms.
Wyatt,
FYI.
And Sons, why are you doing this shit then?
My dad is the Sons.
Oh,
I'm not Sons.
You're one of them Century Farms, eh? Congratulations. How's the yields?
They're yielding, for sure.
Let's get out of the field before that wind yesterday.
Yeah, they've been done for a couple weeks now.
It was a legitimate McCarney Leach.
It was a McCarney wind day, yeah.
McCarney Leach conversation day. Only a win that you get when Texas Tech comes to Ames.
That's right.
Kansas does not play, so they're off a bye, which is another reason it's a tricky spot for Iowa State. It really is. I'm not going to go as far as Hassel did to say it's the scariest game for me, but I think that he convinced me to put it ahead of Utah.
Okay, let's play guess the point spread for that Kansas game. And I know we're looking ahead. Well, obviously has a game.
You want me to guess it, and I will pull it up and give it to you. What the teams are power rated at right now, yes, well done, Aiden. See, this is why we need Aiden on the show. It makes the show so much better when we have Aiden.
I would say, if I am setting the line right now, I have it at Iowa State -8.
-8, okay. Brent, you are incorrect. So Iowa State right now, I'm just going to walk you through it.
Walk me through
it. I go through the power ratings I like to use. I don't use like the one guy doing it. I use like a formula where there's multiple ones averaged. Iowa State is rated 8 points, so you nailed it. But what we don't, I'm sorry, I thought it was 6. Iowa State is 8 points better than Kansas right now in the power ratings. The problem is going to be, what do they value Arrowhead Stadium at?
That's why I had the same thought.
So somewhere it's going to change. I still think you have to give Kansas a point.
A point for being the shorter road trip?
At least 1 point. Yeah, because they've played there. I would guess that this thing comes off at 6.5.
6.5?
Because they're going to want to put a hook out there. I don't think they're going to put it right at 7. Everybody would take Kansas. Everybody would play Kansas if you put it at 7. It might even be 6, and then let it bet up the other way.
Yeah. So the point is, it's going to be, that's the one game I think will be around a touchdown. I agree with that.
And frankly, it'll depend on what happens this week, too.
Yeah.
It changes week to week.
But that's good point. Thank you, Aiden, that Kansas does not play. That adds a layer to next week for sure.
All right. We'll run through our Big 12 games this week. So Iowa State, Texas Tech, 2:30. There is no 11 a.m. window for the Big 12 of this week. This is ESPN. I'm going to pick Iowa State big here. I think this is a game where it's probably a lot like the Baylor game, where at halftime it's still in doubt, and I just think Iowa State will pull away and win this game by 17 to 20 points.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way with obviously cognizant of what happened in the UCF game.
No doubt.
Similar setup. Like, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself.
Hey, I have more respect for Tech than I did Central Florida going into
entering the game. I will agree with that. I just think Iowa State's health. Iowa State was so much more banged up than anybody knew before that game, and it caught up to them in the worst way possible in that first half. And then they were able to just survive. And now I think they got that scare out of the way. This sets up a lot like the Baylor game to me. I'm just going to repeat it.
Kansas State is at Houston. That's 2:30 on Fox.
Come on, Willie.
Kansas State's a 13.5-point favorite. I'll put it this way. If we're looking for reasons for a Kansas State loss, Houston's defense just good enough where they could cause some turnovers. And he's a really good coach, and they're doing exactly what we thought they would when we scouted this conference in the summer. Houston gets better every week. I don't think that they have the firepower to beat Kansas State, but I do think they could force some turnovers with that athleticism that they have specifically up front on defense. Get to Avery Johnson a little bit. I still think Kansas State wins this by double digits.
Yeah, I agree. But Houston's playing with some confidence now. I mean, that's a big win for them. And have we really had a game yet in the Big 12 where you went, oh my gosh? You know, like there hasn't really been a shocker. Before the season, BYU beating K-State by 25 would have been, but now it's just like,
yeah,
BYU's clearly pretty good.
I also think too, you have to when you handicap these things, you've got to put the Kansas State BYU game into context. You have to put Central Florida into context. Iowa State threw 2 pick sixes. Analytically, what are the chances that ever happens again? Right? The Kansas State, they completely folded in that second half. So like anyone who just looks at that box score and didn't watch the game, they're going to think BYU was 20 points. They weren't. They weren't if you watch the game.
Yeah, great point. Yeah. Context matters.
That's the problem with these AP pollsters. They're not watching the damn games. I can look at their poll and I can tell you if they're watching football games.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, I agree. I think K-State's clearly better there, but I mean, if that can get to the second half and it's a one-score game, let's hope things get weird down in H-Town.
Justin's watching on Facebook. He says Colorado over Central Florida was a shocker. That was.
It was. At the time. That's another
good time. But then you look back. So this game's fascinating. Another 2:30 kick, FS1. Arizona at Central Florida. A combined 2-10 these teams are in the Big 12.
See, UCF just fired its defensive coordinator this
week.
Week. Yeah.
Malzahn is out to find scapegoats now.
He's trying. I have no read.
They just had a bad portal year, you know. Like they got some good guys, but the really important skill spots they whiffed on a quarterback, and it's hard to win when you have that much money tied up into one guy. Right?
It's a lot like the NFL now. If you overspend on that quarterback spot and you miss,
but like I like their defensive front is I'd take those
good.
guys.
Based on what I saw names though, for as much athleticism and dudes as they had on defense, to give up as many points and yards as they have, something was wrong there.
They're clearly not coached well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Arizona deal, again, it just boggles my mind how these people out west, how you can lose that many people. I know that they kept their 3 big dudes, but it's not basketball. This is a team sport where you have to be deep. They lost all their depth. You're switching leagues, which is really a hard thing to do. There's not many, like, look at Utah now. Like, it's so hard. I don't understand why we haven't learned this by now.
Yeah.
That changing conferences often takes 4 to 5 years to get acclimated to.
There's just so much newness to it, generally. You know the odd part about that, CW? I was thinking about it because I think we need to put more into returning production into next year's preseason stuff. However, the argument against that is in Oklahoma State, who had literally the same amount of returning production as Iowa State, and they haven't won a game yet. Like, what?
You just don't know.
You just don't. Like, this whole era, I think that's so unpredictable now from year to year and program to program.
You got Arizona State at Oklahoma State, 6 p.m. on FS1. Arizona State's a 3-point favorite. I guess I would take Oklahoma State and just be a contrarian here.
Yeah, I think so too. But one team, we'll see if the folks want to be there or not.
Can Scadaboo just run all over the field? Like,
he could.
Yeah, I mean, who the hell in Arizona State's Oklahoma State? They haven't stopped anybody all year.
Does BYU, Aiden, can you pull up Arizona State's schedule? I believe BYU has to go there. And that
could be a tricky game.
That's a tricky game, right? Like, put BYU.
Oh, because you know that Dillingham will just have that place on.
Oh,
fire.
he'll be. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna. I mean, if BYU's undefeated rolling into Tempe with their ability to run it, I don't know. Like, that's a 3-point game either way. Is that next week? What do we got here?
That is not next week.
It's the 23rd. Oh, that's the same day as K-State, Iowa State.
Man, what a day that's
No, it's not. No, that's Utah. That's the Utah game.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay, keep an eye on that one could shift some things too. And then, honestly, Arizona State's ability to run it at K-State, I don't know.
Zach says, to your point, Chris, what did BYU do over the offseason that made them improve so quickly? Well, nobody saw that coming. They were picked to finish dead last in the league.
And they brought everybody back.
So what we're saying is I truly think this is what's going to happen, and I could be wrong. We're wrong about stuff all the time. Really interesting stuff this week comes out about scholarship limits and roster limits and all that stuff. And you're a better authority on this than I am, Brent, but I've been saying this kind of for a long time. I think what's going to happen is that these players, they want to play more than they want huge checks. And I think that if the SEC and Big Ten schools start stockpiling 105 scholarships, they're going to have way more of a transfer. They're going to have way more guys leaving who will stay there and develop for like 2 years and then transfer to these Big 12 and ACC type schools. And I think in our league, retaining is going to be more important than free agency, except like what you've seen with Iowa State do this year, where you go out and get your Jalen Daniels, those types of things.
Travis, yeah.
Yeah, Travis. Yeah, excuse me.
No, you're right.
Daniels is the running back, right? Who's a little Eastern Michigan running back?
Jackson.
Jackson. Sorry, we got a lot of Jalen's.
We got Jalen's, Jaden's.
Yeah, Jackson. Right, where you find your pieces where it's like
totally
we need here, we need here, we need here.
Honestly, if I'm a Big 12 school, I have a staff member-ish dedicated to looking at rosters of the Big Ten and the SEC schools as they do this, because that will be a big pipeline for you at a good value. If we're talking about essentially free agency here, is those guys that nobody knows about that might be second or third team on an SEC school, but they come in here at X amount cheaper than it is to keep a guy. Like you got to be really strategic about how you analyze talent going forward. I think this helps Iowa State in that, as the old adage for Matt Campbell's program is, the crazier it gets for everybody else, the better it is for Iowa State. And I think that's going to be the case. Yeah,
and that's absolutely another reason too. And I think Matt Campbell's the best coach to ever coach at Iowa State in any sport. Okay, I'm going to put that out there right now. More so than that, I want the continuity in the next 10 years more than anything. I want to keep Matt here because he's great, but I think that everything is so freaking, like, the waves are just crazy all around you. I think that it's a pretty solid rock of a yacht that you're sitting on that doesn't, you know what I mean?
Yep.
That, to me, that can't be computed. It can't be mimicked. You know, and if Matt were to leave, like, they'd find somebody else and life would go on. But to max this thing out, I think that the strategy and, like, I think it's really, really sound right now. But I also don't know if I want to watch, you know, in this era having to do a coaching change. It's terrifying.
No, I mean, obviously, priority number one, keep your coaches together. Okay, like, you still need to keep your primary guys too. I mean, it's like a domino effect here. If a couple of your top guys leave, then others start going, well, what am I missing here? Maybe I should start looking. If you keep those top guys, then everyone's like, okay, we can win here, that we're going to stay, and it just kind of feeds off itself. I agree, C-Dub. I think I'm not concerned about roster sizes. I'm really not. I actually think
I don't think they even need 85. If it were up to me, if it were up the stupid laws, like, I would have dropped the scholarship limit.
Well, and the neat part, and nobody's talking about this because, again, it's not the headlines. It's up to the schools to figure out how they want to divvy up that number. So you can have 105 players on your roster. They could be 105 full scholarship guys. It could be 85 full scholarship, 20 walk-ons. They don't get anything. It could be, and this is a way to combat the thing, we've talked about this a little bit, maybe you do 60 full-time scholarship guys and 45 halves. So you get some of your guys a little bit here. They get some assistance, just like the wrestling and track people. And
where they would still get NIL payments too.
Right? Oh, you get NIL on top of that for sure. Yeah. So I am not concerned about roster limits, to your point, because people want to play, and there is going to be still a shift where, this is why college football, I think, has had a more parity this year than ever. Is it's naturally occurring. It's only going to keep going. The one issue would be, C-Dub, is what will the contracts look like in regards to the universities? You know what I mean? So if these schools have essentially the NIL rights for these players, and you're an SEC school, you could potentially sign a guy for 4 years to a contract. And then you can't get out of that, which means if you transfer down, you can't get NIL payments, potentially. So there are a lot of smart people now attacking the future of college athletics from a contract perspective. These schools are hiring contract professionals, almost agents, to figure out the best negotiation tactic for what contracts look like going forward, because that language will a lot of times dictate your retention rate, or, and this is the other part the coaches oftentimes don't like talking about, your ability to turn over a roster if you don't like a guy. You know, like, if you don't want a guy signed for 4 years, well, you better have language out there to be able to
cut him.
Be able to cut him, for lack of a better term. So a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff happening.
Boy, if only they could just be employees and have real contracts like everybody else in the freaking world. My favorite one ever was when they're all like, oh, but what about the taxes? They pay taxes just like every other human being. Yeah. I was a high schooler, and I had a job at Wheels Clothing in Clarinda. Guess what? I had to pay taxes.
The NIL world's been good for the state of Iowa tax database.
Jesus. It's always an excuse for everything.
These guys are paying taxes.
Oh, what are we going to do about the taxes? These kids aren't going to pay their taxes. Well, they better figure it out, because they're adults just like the rest of us. Yeah. TCU is at Baylor. That's the nightcap, 7:00.
Uninterested.
I'm not that interested. It doesn't impact Iowa State that much. It will be a decent game, I think. I think that'll be a
that'll be a lot of points. A lot of points on the board.
3 o'clock or 3 is the spread. 7 o'clock kick.
Hey, Aiden, can you find who's calling the Iowa State Texas Tech game? It's an ESPN
Aiden having to
game.
do some flex his muscles producing.
Yeah, so this is not a Tim Brando game, everybody.
Thank
so
God.
That's something. That's something.
Thank the Lord. I want to thank our friends at Gravitate Co-working. Check them out at gravitatecoworking.com today. Co-working locations all over the Des Moines Metro. They're about ready to add their second spot in Windsor Heights. There's so much demand for this. This is such a growing industry. I respect my man Jeff Wood a lot for being in on the ground floor of this. I love disruptors. His wife, Hope Wood, I don't know if I call her a disruptor, but she is. She's doing the Lord's work where she's getting wills for Cyclone fans all over the country. HopeWoodJD.com. You can get your will done in a day with our friend Hope. She's a lovely human being, and she does a hell of a job. It's something that nobody wants to do, but we all need to do it. HopeWoodJD.com.
We're talking about an Iowa State football program that is now on the plus side to make the playoffs, meaning they are favorite to make. So it's stressful enough. How stressful would it be when you got Bama in your house in December?
Bama, you want a hot take?
Bama probably won't make it. Well,
you want a hot take?
Yeah.
I think Bama's about to go on a really steep decline.
I actually agree with that.
Like I by their standards.
Yeah.
I don't think DeBoer is like bad enough where they're
no, they're not. They're not going to like the Dennis Franchione.
I don't
era.
think. I just think Saban had that perfect secret sauce in that era, and now this has all changed. And I think DeBoer, I've just been paying attention, and I think he's going to have a real problem with following the legend, and nobody's ever really going to give him a fair shake. I would keep an eye on their portal this December. Yeah, I mean it just feels he feels like when Auburn hired the guy from Boise, like it never made sense. I still can't believe Alabama didn't hire like a Saban disciple of some sort to go back there.
Yeah,
like anybody, the guy from Maryland, like whoever. Like I'm not even saying like Sarkisian or Kiffin, like, but like how did they not just get somebody who's a Saban guy? And now they just bring this guy who has no Bama ties. He's kind of an outlier there. I think it's going to blow up.
Yeah, especially if they.
I know you love him though. You think he's great.
I think he's one of the better X and O coaches.
And I don't disagree with that. That's not what I'm saying. You know that.
I 100%. I like the Harsin comparison. I think DeBoer is a little bit better, but you're talking about just a different situation here of replacing Saban. I think DeBoer, looking back, will regret leaving Washington and what he had going there, considering the SEC compared to the Big Ten and all that stuff. Now, he got paid, and I'm sure that's great. If they lose another game, he looks
miserable.
They're going to be out of the playoff, and then things are going to get real dicey down in Tuscaloosa.
I think they will. I don't think this is like
we get Pash. Oh, I love Dave Pash.
Also,
Dave Pash.
Taylor McGregor is the best sideline reporter in the game. She does all the Cubs games on Marquee.
Oh yeah,
so
she's
huge
a
fan.
You're a little biased. Let's be honest.
I like that crew. Dave Pash, everybody, called a couple of games. He called the Fiesta Bowl, Iowa State's win over Oregon, and he called the TCU game 2017. Really good, iconic call of that Marcel Spears
that
interception.
20 Fiesta Bowl is one of the great games in college football history.
I can safely say that Dave Pash and myself were two of the 400 people in that building. It was surreal.
I skipped it. I was like, it is too depressing.
You couldn't.
I said Stansbury.
Stansbury did go.
He wanted to go, and he didn't. He's a single guy. I'm like, go ahead. It was too depressing for me to go to that game and not be able to I couldn't do it. I said, when I go to an Iowa State New Year's 6, I'm going to experience it.
Well,
anyways,
I'll just tell you this, me, Sage Rosenfels, and Ben Bruns experienced it plenty after the win.
No, that I missed out on. Now that is a good time hanging out with those broskies.
We had a good time.
Woo-wee. Couple other thank you to Kelderman Manufacturing. Love you, Jeff. Appreciate your sponsorship, everything you do for us here. And his whole team, Mark Steck, all the good people down in Oskaloosa. And our friends at the Iowa State University Foundation, MoveWhatMatters.com. You can buy our marching band gear at CycloneFanaticShop.com. I'm with the band. I designed the shirt. Very proud of this. I like to support the marching band. I like to support the School of Veterinary Medicine. I like to support the Greenlee School of Journalism. All those great spots. And the Ivy College of Business.
So I was talking to I spoke to a class there last week. I was talking to one of my friends at the Greenlee School. They're sending some students over to Ireland to cover the Iowa State-Ireland game, and so they're looking for some funds for some international experience for their kids. So I'm gonna throw some money their way for that.
Well, can we please just start our own scholarship for this?
We could do. I mean, I thought this could be a nice starter for us. I've thrown some money that way.
I'm passionate about this, and I want part of the deal to be where they are mentored. We're not just throwing them out there, right? We're going to help them.
We would go there and maybe have a session with them while in Ireland about.
Yeah, and we're going to teach those boys how to drink Guinness. Hey, sorry, Greenlee. You guys have kept me at an arm's length for 20 years. I'm going to start funding your program. I'm kidding.
We're going to go drink with your
We're going to teach these guys how to be real sports writers.
You go to Old Chicago on a Thursday night instead of Sips.
I'm just kidding. No, it's important to me. They real world experience matters.
It's great.
You need to have a mentor who you can call and ask questions to, that type of stuff. That's very important.
Yes, but that's one of the things the foundation does is provide those international real-world experiences for stuff.
Absolutely. It's so cool. We want to be a big part of it here. Help out those kids. And I said, guys, a lot of young ladies in sports media, too. I don't want to be a sexist there.
No, I met with a
bunch of young ladies who are trying to get into this business, too.
I met with somebody last week who I would have hired her to have your job tomorrow.
To have my job?
Go get her. I mean, I'm telling you, superstar.
So you're trying to replace me?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, she's gonna aim higher than Cyclone Fanatic. I'll just tell you that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I would encourage anyone to do so. Let's do some women's basketball. The exhibition opener is tonight. If you're listening to this, we're recording this on Wednesday morning. Many of you probably listening later in the day. We're not going to get into an in-depth preview of this game because there's nothing to do with that. But we are going to talk about the team in general. Blum, I think that this is you can pull up the Big 12 poll if you don't mind, but I struggle to see a competitor to Iowa State to win this conference championship.
Yeah,
outright. I mean, Kansas State would be the only one I would kind of put in the hemisphere. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. K-State with Ielka Lee,
But Iowa State's a great matchup for them.
And they beat them a couple of times last year.
Audie neutralizes her.
I think, if I was voting, I would put Iowa State first. K-State does have, a lot of experience coming back, and she's probably the more established player than Audie at this rate, but I understand.
Blasphemy.
I mean, look how close that was.
Any GM would take Audie Crooks over her.
Yeah. You know who I would take? And I wanted to speak this into existence before the season started just so I can get on the record. You ready for this?
I'm ready. Y'all ready for this? Hilton time.
Again, I love Audie Crooks. I'm big time member of the Audie Crooks fan club. Obviously, Emily Ryan fan club. Love Emily. The person that doesn't get talked about enough and continues to not get talked about enough is Addie Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you some numbers. Good job, Aiden, for showing the Addie Brown photo. Okay,
good job, Aiden.
I've got three
We're just
players
loving on Aiden today.
I've got 3 players freshman year as an Iowa State women's basketball player. Okay, ready? Player 1 as a freshman averaged 12 points and 6 rebounds on 33% shooting, 33% from 3. All right. Player number 2 for Iowa State, as my computer loads, and we're having a rough time here. Player number 2 as a freshman, averaged 11.7 points on 43% shooting and 36 from 3, also 5 rebounds per game. All right. And player number 3 averaged 13 points, 8.2 rebounds on 48% shooting and 39% from 3. Who's got the better stats? Player 1, 2, or 3?
You're going to have to put them on
It's
paper.
player 3. It's
okay,
player 3.
You lost me. Like, I
well,
was
I'm
like,
just saying. No, you're fine.
There was way too many numbers.
There's a lot of numbers. So player number 3.
Player number 3
had the most points, had the most rebounds, had the better percentages, and played the exact same number of minutes. Player number 3 is Addie Brown. Player number 1 is Bridget Carlton as a freshman.
Okay.
Player number 2 is Ashley Jones as a freshman. Addie Brown put up way better numbers than any of those 2 other Hall of Famers her freshman year, and nobody talks about her because of Audie.
She's like a hybrid between the two.
She's going to play some more posts this year. I'm telling you, having seen a little bit and knowing behind the scenes, Addie Brown, I love Audie Crooks. Addie Brown may be the most, I don't want to call it important piece, but she is, it's like 1A and 1B, her and Audie. It really is. I think Addie Brown is due for a monster year. I firmly believe that. I think she didn't make first team All Big 12. I think it was kind of unfair to her. I think it's partly just because you can't put 2 Iowa State players on the same team. But I am speaking the Addie Brown hype train into existence as of this second.
Birdie tells me that the young guard has had a really nice offseason. Reagan
Wilson.
Yes.
Who would know what he's talking about either, but everyone's going to play.
Birdie's chirping that
yes.
We've got a real DeAndre Kane, Monte Morris situation going on with her and Emily Ryan.
We got a good one there. And
sounds like Jackson's going to play more at the 2.
Yep.
Which is a little more natural for her. Might be a little more deep at the 1 spot. And again, like, you can't put into words. It's just like these young journalists, right? You need somebody you can call to get real world feedback. And when you've got Emily Ryan is like your coach on a day-to-day basis at the training table, at practice, in the film room, Reagan Wilson's going to be in such a good spot when it comes to her true sophomore year, because I do believe she will play enough as a freshman to not redshirt.
Yep.
I don't know if she makes a huge difference this year, but I'm looking ahead to the post-Emily Ryan era, and I think Iowa State's going to be in a really good spot.
It's a great point. And then Tanky can shoot it. Good grief, she can shoot it. So, she's not going anywhere. She's going to play too. So Iowa State did great with and then the newcomers are all really good. Kenzie Hare is battling a little bit of an injury. She's going to play tonight, it sounds like, limited minutes. And then the UMass transfer, Lily, I can't remember. I can't pronounce her last name.
It starts with an H.
That's Lily Hansford from Oregon State. This is the other Lily. We got multiple Lilies.
A lot of Lilies. A lot of Jalen's, a lot of Lilies.
Yep. She's hurt. So, again, I think that backup post is a little bit of a question mark. That's why Addie you might see play a little bit more of that 4-5, which will be interesting.
You're right. She's completely underserved when it comes to promotion. Not by anybody in particular. That's the problem when you play with such a unique player like Audie Crooks. And the numbers don't lie, and she's going to have maybe the best overall stat book in the history of Iowa State women's basketball. When she's done at this pace, she's going to be right there if she can keep it up, which I believe that she will. And what I love about Addie is she's so focused. Anytime you talk to her, like, she's just so she's just locked in, and I really, really appreciate her. And they're my favorite team. I've said it for years. I love this program. I think this year, it was a bogus preseason poll, but whatever. And I also think, too, that we really didn't see a full strength Emily Ryan last year.
Not at all.
And I'm really anxious to watch my favorite Cyclone run it back for this final year. And I think she's got a little bit, I don't know if she has anything to prove. She certainly doesn't to me or the Iowa State fans, but to herself, because she's just that competitive of a young person. And she really put it on her back to get the freshmen from last year to a point of prestige, of whatever that might be.
Yep.
And I think that they somehow felt unfinished business from last year, which was a massive overachievement, which nobody thought that from the outside. But talking with them from within, I think that they thought they underachieved a little bit, which is, again, nutso to me. And I'm anxious to see how Emily does in that role, because I think she's a big step up production wise.
Yeah, and man, what a story! I mean, when you start talking about legends of Iowa State, I think
she's right there.
I think Emily Ryan's right there with Niang.
Mm-hmm.
Just from what she meant for the program. I mean, 2 years ago it got real dicey there, and it was Emily Ryan who stood up and said, "No,
She put out the tweet. I'll never forget it."
She did. And then, the neat part is her story, and please go watch it, about her mental health journey. And
yeah, don't forget some Kleenex. I mean,
yeah,
my
but
God.
she put, because of that, and this is the type of person she is, she put so much on her shoulders, almost like she had to be the one to keep this program moving, that it was almost too much to handle. And it was exactly what I appreciate about Cyclone student athletes that we get to work with on a daily basis. Is just they care so much. They care so much. And Emily is at the top of one of my favorite people. Everybody looks up to her. And I'm excited for her to have this, I don't want to call it, the swan song, but it's going to be a phenomenal ride with her at the helm, and I'm going to enjoy every single game, because I think I think Emily Ryan's right there with the Niang, with a Carlton, with a Jones, with a Monte Morris. I'm just, her number should be retired someday.
No doubt. It doesn't matter what she does.
It doesn't matter. Yep.
No,
doesn't matter.
Well, that gets going tonight. Connor and Rob will be covering we are finalizing our schedule. I am excited. We're going to have Leah, and then Chelsea Poppins is joining our team for analysis this year here on the Pod Network, and we're going to do men's and women's pregame and postgame shows just like we do for football. We're not going to do halftime. That's a lot for a 2-hour basketball game to jam that in there. But we will have those schedules out. Everything we do for the men, we're doing for the women. The exact same level of coverage. And I feel like we were on the front end of covering the women. We were doing it before it was like the cool thing to do. And we want to step up and do even more. Not only because they deserve it, because it makes sense. Like, people really care about it, and they need to care about it because it's a hell of a brand. They've sold out of season tickets on the reserves for this year, and this could be one of the all-time great Fennelly teams. And I'll be locked into the exhibition tonight. I can't wait.
Well, so I mentioned Emily Ryan. One other thing I'm enjoying is, man, how unique is it to have Bill Fennelly still? I mean, this is year 29, year 30.
He doesn't really feel like he's dropped off.
He doesn't. Yeah. He doesn't. And, just seems to really enjoy it right now. And, I'm a big celebrate legends while they're still doing legendary things. So I'm going to be there as often as I can this year. Can't wait. And then, by the way, in that photo there, LaToya Shaban, Jody Steyer, Josh Harper, Billy. This staff has been together for 14 years now. That is unheard of in college athletics at any level. And back to your continuity point on the football front, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
When times get rocky, what do you lean on? The people you trust. And that's exactly what the Iowa State women's program has done in a tumultuous time, and look where they are now.
I was thinking about this too. I believe I was calling a game when Okoye Lee made her debut at Kansas State.
Ayoka?
There was some sort of injury, and she was a true freshman.
Yeah, she's been there.
There was some sort of, God, she's been there a long
time. Yeah.
I don't know if it was her first game, but it was there's some sort of she was making a comeback of some sort. It was her freshman year, she had been injured or something like that. But I was thinking about, because it was a long time ago when you and I were calling women's games.
Yeah.
And that just shows how long she's been there. She played against Bridget Carleton.
Did she?
I think so.
Oh. Well, there's going to be fan bases that are thinking the same about Emily Ryan. You're back?
Yeah.
I thought you were gone by now. Why are you still here?
Fun show. I like doing it live. Well, again, next week might be a little iffy. I know it's not perfect. We'll figure it out. He is Brent Blum. My name is Chris Williams. We are presented, as always, by Mechdyne. Thanks to Aiden Wyatt for producing. It's always better when we have him, because I'm a terrible producer. You got to know your weaknesses.
You're terrible at parking your truck.
I'm bad at everything. I don't know why you had to put me on blast like that, but it's not what good friends do.
Oh, that's right. If you're around the Ames area, The RV Village, we got a legitimate RV Village special on Friday night. Trick-or-treating.
That was fun last year.
Yeah, there's going to be kid treats and adult treats.
I got way too drunk at that thing last year.
Come on by,
everybody's
everybody.
handing out shots.
Yeah, it's kids treats and adult treats.
Jiminy Christmas.
So if you ever want to experience the Village, awesome time to do it on Friday night.
Yeah, it is. I don't think anybody would care, too, if you came and parked at the little lot across from the Haunted Forest and took the kids trick-or-treating.
Yeah, walk on over, please.
Come on over. It really is a nice little community that they've got established there. Thanks, Brent. Appreciate you. Appreciate Aiden. Appreciate all of our followers, subscribers. Thanks for watching. We will be back on Sunday night. Well, of course, some more content before the game coming up. Leah and I will have pregame for you. Timmy Mullen will come in, do our picks of the week. Nebraska Furniture Mart and Teddy Flint and the boys with their disgusting, degenerate gambling podcast. Have a good weekend.
Cheers.